So recently, I received some good news that I got, a reduced sentence, a lot of the charges, you know, got reduced, a lot of the time got cut, you know, still fighting a lot of charges with the appeal, but the reason a lot of the charges got reduced, reduced or whatever is because, a lot was going on. So I'm gonna need y'all to follow me because there's like a bunch of events that happened. So, like I said prior, with the P.I Lady, aka Peaches, she, helped, get me convicted, along with Officer Buck, when I made that direct sale, you know, but, right after that happened, me, being the crazy motherfucker I am and the crazy person that she is, we didn't stop messing with each other right after that. That's what a lot of people don't know. Me and the P.I Lady was still messing around. I was out on bail, cause I was fighting the case for like, before I got convicted, I was fighting this case for like 2 years. Out on bail for 2 years fighting this case, still doing my thing, like, so, like I said prior in a previous, episode or whatever, Peaches, came to the booster bash, but I didn't know it was her, until we did our thing and she took the mask off and I knew it was her. And the reason she said she came to the booster bash to see me is because she wanted to make it up to me. She felt bad for me, and that she caught feelings for me. You know what I mean? And, me being, like I said, not only the sex was good and the chemistry was good, but it was just something about, Peaches, the P.I Lady, so we was still messing around, doing our thing, even though I'm fighting the case and shit. We was still doing our thing, still having sex and just doing crazy things. Couldn't be seen in public because, of course, fighting the case and she was part of the case, I remember there was this one incident where, she, called me like 5 in the morning. She called me 5 in the morning and told me to come see her. Peaches is calling me, telling me to come see her, so I'm like, damn, alright. So I get in the car, head over to her place. Get over there, she was like that, she had no milk for her cereal. I'm like, call me over here for that. So, she was like, I need milk, so I said, so what, you want me to go buy milk? She said, no. And she grabbed me by my crotch, by my dick. And she's like, I need milk for my cereal. So, I'm like, wow, so she unzipped my pants, started doing what she do, giving that, that slurpy slurpy wop wop, and then right before I was gonna, she grabbed the cereal bowl, told me to let off in the bowl. I let off in the bowl. And then she started eating it from there, and then she was like, alright, you can go home now. And I was just like, wow, like, Peaches was crazy like that, like, just crazy shit, you know what I'm saying? And then, she would just like, just pop up on me, just show up to the crib, we have sex or whatever. Then she started just getting like too possessive, I remember it was this one time, she found out that me and 88 was still messing around. So, she must have figured out that, 88 was having a little get together, with her friends or whatever. And she told me, like, she said, yeah, I know you still messing around with 88. And she said, I hope nothing bad, happens to her. I'm like, what you mean by that? And then, lo and behold, I seen 88 was live, with her friends and shit. Having a little get together. And lo and behold, I see her on live with Peaches sitting side by side. I'm like, what the fuck? And the whole time she's sitting there with, with 88, Peaches is texting me, saying she hoped nothing bad happened to her, was saying how she has her weapon on her, and, So I immediately got in the car and I started rushing over there. But but when I got there, she was already gone. You can look this up. I'm pretty sure the live is still up with 88. And, Peaches, where I just, and that shit, like, scared me, like, she was just doing weird shit, you know what I mean? And, like, every time I would try to break up with her, something bad would happen. So, when me and London started getting serious, I was trying to break it off with her, but she refused to, to let it go. She was always threatening to tell London about us, you know what I mean? And, what's crazy is that her and London already had like a beef prior, which I didn't know till later on. So I knew if that would have came out, that London would have flipped, you know what I'm saying? And she would always threaten to do something to London, and I couldn't have that, you know what I mean? Because I really had feelings for London. London was my heart, you know what I mean? With Peaches, it was more just lust, just sex, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I mean, Peaches was a fine motherfucker sexually, but the fact that she lied and she was a cop, I couldn't never trust her, but for some reason felt obligated to give her this dick, I ain't gonna lie, you know what I'm saying? But things just started getting weird when she started sending me pictures of me in London out in public. Started popping up, to my place unannounced, you know what I mean? Like I remember one time, London was on her way to see me, and Peaches popped up, you know what I mean, with a trench coat, nothing on underneath, naked, you know what I mean, and demanded, sex from me. And London was right on her way. I was getting text messages saying London was close, and I had to, bust it down on the sink, you know what I mean, real quick, and get her up out of there before London came, and I was just trying to hide this from London, you know what I mean, trying to keep that away, you know what I mean, till one day, Peaches texted me when I was with London. I told her I couldn't make it, you know what I mean, I'm busy, I'm spending time with wifey right now. And she said, oh, wifey, she said, let me ask you something. She said, she's saying this in the text while I'm chilling with London. She said, London has a son that's older, right, that's in the streets, right, that hustles or do his thing in the street, right? I'm like, what that got to do with anything? She was like, nah, just asking. Next thing you know, probably like a month later, London's son caught a charge, you know what I mean, to where he got locked up. And, and she said that she could do the same thing to me if she ever feels disrespected again by me, you know what I mean? And she was always saying how much she hated London, and, and I feared that she would do some harm to London, you know what I mean? Because London's a good woman, you know what I'm saying? So, I remember one time me and London was chilling home late at night. She calls me. So I had to lie to London and say it was Farrago, because she said if I didn't sneak out the house, that she was going to come by the house and tell London everything, so I had to sneak out. And this went on for quite some time till London grew suspicious, and now, being that me and London was thinking about moving in together, we even, had like, how you share like the same phone company. Our phones was in each other's names, so I guess London took it upon herself to, see what was going on for us, like text messages and stuff, even though I will always delete the text messages, and I remember around this time, that's when I gave London a ring, you know what I mean, proposing or whatever, you know what I mean, and then London, took the ring. She said she'd only accept the engagement if I get out the streets, and I couldn't get out the streets right now, you know what I mean, I was like, everything is tied up, you know what I mean, so, but she said she'll wear the ring and hold it until, you know what I'm saying, so lo and behold, I guess she just grew suspicious, you know what I mean, about me always creeping out at night to go see the P.I Lady, you know what I'm saying, so one day she confronted me with the text messages, and, I tried to explain, she didn't believe me, so she took the ring off, threw it at me, you know what I mean, and I was so mad at Peaches, I was like, yo, you fucked up my game, and she was like, that's great, now we can be together, I'm like, no, we can't be together, because we fighting the case, we can't even be seen together in public, you know what I mean, this shit was just crazy, so one day, I called 88, because, 88 is cool between me and London, and, I asked 88, is there a way she could talk to London, see if she could take me back, you know what I mean, because, I really love her, so 88 told me that she was gonna talk to London for me, and see if she can get us back together. So, when 88 meets up with London, talking to her, trying to get us back together, letting her know, that, that I love her and all that. I guess, London got a copy of the printout. And from there, she was able to see that Peaches was the aggressor. Peaches was the one always, forcing me to come out to see her, and, and also saw in the text messages that she was blackmailing me and holding this affair over my head. So I guess that's when London took it upon herself to go confront Peaches. And, 88, also not liking Peaches because, of her just popping up, at her at the kids' party. They both decide to roll to Peaches' house to confront her. So London pops up at Peaches' house. So, London and Peaches get into an argument. They're going back and forth, back and forth. So, I guess Peaches in her mind was like, fuck it. This is a stand your ground state, so Peaches reached for her weapon, but before Peaches can draw her weapon, 88 comes from behind. Pow! Cracks her upside the head with a bottle. Peaches fall to the floor. 88 and London just start kicking and stomping. Peaches, was trying to cover up, because they both jumping her. That's where 88 reached for her waist, takes the gun from her waist. They kicking and stomping. I pull up. I see 88 and London, just stomping and kicking on Peaches. Because, Peaches wanted me to come over. So I'm like, oh shit. So I get out the car. And I'm trying to break it up. I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, chill, y'all gonna kill her. And she said, yeah, this bitch. She said, I've read the text messages. I finally got the printout. And I see this bitch was basically blackballing mailing you. I'm like, yeah. You know what I mean? But I was like, at the same time, I want y'all to kill her. I was like, I'm already fighting the case. So, broke that up. And then luckily London took me back. But then, I wound up getting convicted. So I told London, she free to, basically what C. Murder told Monica. You're free to do your thing and, you're free until, unless I get out of here. And what's crazy, me and Peaches was still messing around. Like Peaches had, it's like Peaches know everybody. She had, a cousin that was a CO that would sneak her in here, under alias name. And she would pay him to look out, and me and London would have sex, even in jail and shit, She would send me naked pictures on a cell phone that the CO, her cousin, gave me. And then somehow the warden found out about me having a cell phone. They got their hands on the cell phone, seen the pictures that Peaches was sending me, and, they tapped that phone prior. Heard, me and Peaches was at phone sex. Checked the records and seen that this certain CEO was signing this lady under a certain name, and they found out it was Peaches, so now Peaches is under investigation. Her CEO, the cousin, he got fired, and that's how my time got reduced, but I'm still fighting the charge. I'm still in here, but, yeah, man, my affair with the P.I Lady is, it runs deep, man, it runs deep, but as of right now, I'm just fighting the case. I'm not with Peaches, London is free to do what she wants, but if I get out of here, most likely that's who I'd be with,